and welcome to episode 18 of the Backstage Knits podcast, a podcast which, unsurprisingly based on the name, is about knitting and yarny goodness in general. My name is Catherine. I am on Ravelry as Backstage Cat Knits. We've also got a Ravelry group for the podcast, which you can get to by searching Backstage Knits Podcast. I'm also on Instagram as Backstage Cat, so come check me out in those places. Thank you to all returning viewers. It's great to see you watching again. And if you are new, well, I hope you enjoy. Yes, I am usually this random and have a hard time talking, so it's a fun ride. Today is Saturday, August 27th. Yeah, September 1st is in this week. Crazy. Next weekend is Memorial Day weekend, which, I mean, I can't believe it was just, or not Memorial Day, but Labor Day. It was just Memorial Day like last week, right? Like, no. Oh my gosh. Which is good because it means I get a day off of work. Always nice to have a long weekend. So, yes, that's that. I've got I've got 3 finished objects, but don't get too excited because 2 of them are very small. So I kind of feel like I have a lot of knitting, and in other ways kind of don't, because I'm really only going to show you 2 works in progress. The other things I just haven't really worked on. It's been a weird week. I've done knitting, but I don't know. So let's dive in, shall we? Let's talk about the finished object you've seen before. These are my Winter Tornado Socks by Yarn Enabler. I got this pattern free in my Yarn Box sock subscription. So it's just this really cool, like, kind of twisty, broken rib, and then the rib goes down the foot. You can see where I was last time I podcasted, which was just on the first repeat. You make these top down. You can kind of tell they're a little stretchy. I've worn them, I was wearing them around the past couple of days in the apartment, but I really like how they came out. I made these out of actually DK weight yarn, out of Ella Rae Lace Merino DK in the colorway number, which I'd forgotten, but the name on the website was Aqua Purple. It's 256 or something like that. So, yeah, I talked about these last week. I do like how the DK came out. I love how they striped up. They got a little bit washed out when I washed them. The color, it didn't run a whole lot. It just kind of got a little bit duller. So, but I do really like them. This is actually really the first pair of, like, well, I guess I made the zigzagular sock. I was gonna say this is the first pair of, like, actually needing to look at a pattern while knitting. Because I was saying this last time, a lot of the socks I do are kind of repetitive patterns where maybe I need to look at it for the first couple of rows, or I need to reference, how many rounds of ribbing or how to do the heel. But for the most part, I don't need to actively be watching a pattern, but at least for the leg of these, I did. So that was a nice change to do that. I mentioned last time that they kind of fit a little bit funky because of just, like, this sits right at your instep where these stitches come together, and as you can see, it's kind of bulked out there. So it's not the world's best fitting pattern, but perhaps that's just me or how I do my increases and decreases. I did make a slight modification in the original pattern. It calls to decrease by knitting 1 and slipping the stitch over, and I didn't, slipping the stitch, knitting 1, passing the slip stitch over, and I wasn't really liking how that was looking within this pattern, so I just did a slip knit. But that's really the only pattern modification I made, other than I wasn't really understanding the directions for how to pick up stitches along the heel, so I just followed kind of how the Rose City Rollers details it out, and I kind of, when I finished the first sock, so once you get to the foot, I had the pattern memorized. It's just a broken rib, so I wasn't looking at the pattern, and I got to the point and just sort of did the toe decreases that I'm used to doing. Again, from the Rose City Rollers, I have that pattern memorized, so I have no idea of the actual toe decreases on this sock. but it's my favorite toe decrease. What's really cool about this, I have not done before, I really like the heel. When you're doing the heel, it's a heel flap and gusset, but when you're doing the heel flap, you kind of have this garter stitch border instead of a slip stitch border, and I kind of like how that, you can kind of see it. I like that little bit of interesting detail. I think it adds something to it. So, very happy with how these came out. Yeah, I've worn them a couple times around the house. I don't know that I would make the pattern again anytime soon, but it was not just because there's other socks I want to make, but I did like it. And I don't think, when I was first knitting it, I thought maybe that this yarn would kind of wash out the pattern too much, and I don't think it does. It is a little bit busy, but you can still kind of see the swirlies and stuff. So, I believe I said this is the pattern on Ravelry is Winter Tornado Socks by Yarn Enabler. So, go check it out. Like I said, I really enjoy the pattern. There's a couple things that fit-wise I'm not in love with, but I made very few modifications, and it was very, very clear and easy to follow in a way that's, the pattern itself is not necessarily the simplest. You've got to move the round, start a couple times, but she did a great job of describing it, and so recommend that. So that is the one thing that you have seen before. I was at Barnes & Noble getting a present for my sister's graduation party. I got her a gift card because she recently sent us a note. So my mom, my dad, and I all love to read, and my sister was never really a reader, and so she sent us a group text one day, and she goes, "Guys, I'm a reader now. Can I finally be included in the family?" It was really funny. So anyway, I was getting her a gift card now that she's a reader, and I had a couple of minutes to spare, and so I looked in the knitting section, and I found this. So this is Teeny Tiny Mochi Mochi by Anna Pratchikov. I don't know. So it's actually kind of funny. My college roommate, junior year of college, got the regular Mochi Mochi, knitting Mochi Mochi, which I actually just bought myself. It's in the mail on its way to me. And I remember she made the pig. Oh, this one, Knitting Mochi Mochi, by the same author. My college roommate had that book and knit a pig. And I was never really into Stuffies when I first started knitting, but I just picked this up because it was one that looked kind of fun. And I wanted to challenge myself to do something other than socks and shawls, and obviously these are different. So this book is adorable. I think it's got like 40 patterns in here about, yeah, look at that. All this stuff in here. She's got like natural things, she's got humanoids, inanimates, edibles. Like, they're so adorable. The ones I really like are, this little tiny forest is really cute. This, I like the rainbow. I gotta use some of my self-striping to make that. Let me just pull the page for this one. Okay, sorry. I want to show you the fried eggs. I thought that one was adorable. Where'd it go? I could look, couldn't I, on the thing. Cupcake. I mean, there's so many patterns in here, and they're so cute. Oh, here they are. Look at those things. Oh, I love them. Those are definitely gonna go be magnets on my fridge for sure. So, anyway, I guess I'll start. Okay, here we go. There's an order in which I want to do this because there's stories related to this. Very, very long lead up to my first finished object, which is a very, very small finished object. Fits in here. Okay, so I bought this book and I was just like, I don't know, let me just make something that I can make with one color yarn, because I don't really have a lot of a lot of solid colors of fingering weight yarn, and everything in this book is fingering weight. So anyway, I didn't have a lot. Oh, look, I found a knitting needle. That's where that got to this morning, or embroidery needle. All right, so the first thing I wanted to make was the fish, and in the pattern it's got, you can make the little like bubbles. I didn't make the bubbles because I just literally wanted to be like, can I follow these instructions and make a small little thing? And I could. There's a little fish. I should give him some eyes at some point, but you can see he's got a little magnet on him. So I was at Michael's last night buying eyes for the next thing I'm going to show you. Well, buttons that are serving his eyes. And so I got these little magnets because I remembered seeing it in the back of the book that you can make them out of magnets. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to put a magnet on it. So I stuck it on with hot glue. And then I was reading the back of the book again. And it was like, oh, stick the magnet in the stuffy when you're stuffing it. But, I mean, the hot glue is holding, but it's just not as pretty. So when I make other things, I'll put the magnets inside like you're actually supposed to. So he goes on our fridge. Now he has a little fridge fish magnet. I made this out of some leftovers of my Hey Lady Hey Targy Bulky in the Juniper colorway. So I love these little tiny things, and they're just so adorable. So okay, that's one. The next one. I recently found out that through my job, we're going to get to work with IBM's Watson, which is like this cognitive computing thing, and we're going to actually get to spend like days in a room with IBM people, like teaching Watson to do things that we need it to do. And so we were joking, the group of people who are going to be working on this project, about how we need like something to talk to, you know, because like you don't actually have to talk to it, but anyway, we're just joking about it. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll knit a Watson. So the first pattern I saw was these tiny little robots. And I decided not to do that. I didn't really have the colors. I wanted to make it that night. I was like I will make it tonight, just now. And I didn't have the colors in either fingering, or I ended up making the thing I'll show you out of worsted weight. So I didn't make that. Plus I don't know. I don't love it. I'll probably make this little tiny robot one day, but Wednesday was not the day. So, but you know, Watson's kind of like a robot, but really Watson's a computer. So I found tiny computer. So I made tiny computer. He's so cute. So this is Watson 1.0. I made Watson 1.0 out of Cascade 220 Superwash in the black colorway, in a colorway I don't remember the name of. And then to make the little eyes and the keyboard, I used some metallic embroidery thread that I had. So I like how he came out. I think I might actually make one of these for every single one of my team members, because it's a cute little to have a computer at your desk. I can improve upon his design. Again, this was like, other than this fish, which I think I realized I put upside down. Oh well. Other than this fish, this is the second stuffy I made. And this one was slightly more complicated because this had 3 parts, and this one just had really essentially 1 part, and then you kind of sewed the fins on. You kind of picked up stitches to do the fins. So this was the most complicated little tiny stuffy I made. I knit him on 3.25 millimeter needles. All the patterns in this book call for fingering weight yarn with US 1 needles. So I went up in yarn size and I went up in knitting size. So I like him. I had a hard time kind of with the embroidering. As you can see, his eye is falling out. So I'll need to try him again. But overall, I'm very happy. He was hanging out on my desk this week. And also the mouse looks like a snake because I think I pulled too tightly when I joined the stitches. I want to experiment making the mice on these things by doing a Judy's Magic cast on and like building out, because the way you do it is you build this first and then you kind of build out from that. So we'll have to see. I might play around with the mouse shape so it looks more like a mouse and less like a snake. He's a little snaky. So that's my finished object number 3, Watson 1.0. So then I had to I was looking around, I was like, well, I like this guy, but I'm wondering if I could, A, make him bigger, because this little guy's hard to talk to. He's pretty tiny. And I found that on Anna, who wrote this teeny tiny Mochi Mochi book, she had a design called Error. And Error's basically just a bigger version of this. So this is Error. It's hard to get a sense of the scale from here, but it almost looks tinier. But the pictures on the Ravelry pattern page make it clear that it's bigger. So I started making Error. And so this I got done in one night. And Error took a little bit longer. So I did actually modify the pattern. In the original pattern you saw, she's got 3 screen designs, one with a heart, one says beep, and one says error. So I kind of played around in Excel and made mine say Watson, or alternatively, what, son? Yeah, it didn't fit, and I didn't want to try to make it bigger, which I think, again, I might make this guy again. This is Watson 2.0, so I might make 2.1. Such a nerd. And now that I kind of can figure out the decreases, I could probably make him a little bit bigger. So this was Watson. So I've got you make it in 3 parts. You make the screen, you make the keyboard, and you make the mouse. So I finished the screen this morning and I moved on to the keyboard. So it's a little bit hard to tell, but what I really like about the bigger version of the pattern, it's not going to come up great because my yarn is so dark. I didn't want to go out and buy gray yarn, although, again, if I make 2.1, I might do gray as the pattern recommends. But you can kind of see, it's really hard to tell, but there's like actually pearl bumps. So there's actually kind of keys to the keyboard, which is a little bit nicer. And it means I don't have to do the embroidery because that didn't come out very well on Watson 1.0. And in order to make Watson, I actually had to use intarsia, I don't really know how you say that word, knitting. So there was a bobbin for this. I was using the main ball for like this part of the black, and then the blue ball and the white ball. So I had 4 strands going. It was fiddly, but I got it done. My tension's a little bit funky, as you can probably see, but overall, given that was my first attempt at intarsia knitting, and really only my second attempt, I've really only done, well, I have the hat that's sort of in progress. I mean, I really only have one finished project of stranded colorwork knitting, so not really big on the stranded colorwork, which is sort of what you have to do in the middle here. Anyway, I'm pretty happy. I think 2.1 would come out a little bit better now that I'm more comfortable with it. My problem is I just generally knit tightly, so I think I have a hard time figuring out, like, do I need to knit looser, do I need to knit tighter, and just evening out my tension, really, when doing stranded colorwork in general. But from far away, it actually looks pretty. I'm looking at my screen here, and it actually looks pretty good. Up close, it's wonky, but from far away, not awful. So, I finished him. He's got his little button eyes, and like I said, I think this is a couple of stitches into the keys. So I actually kind of wanted to show you. I didn't print this pattern out. I mentioned this before. I don't have a printer in my house. Oh, this is living in my Yarn Cellar Studio tea bag, which is, oh boy, which is really quite big, and so it's perfect for this project. Oh no, my yarn is caught in the zipper. Okay, all right. Well, it didn't die. Yes. Oh dear. I didn't do it again. Phew. It's just the zipper's getting stuck. There's nothing to do with the yarn. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Anyway. So, I don't have a printer, and I could have printed it, but I really wanted to get started. But I like, especially on patterns like this, I've noticed now that I've started printing patterns in general, I really like checking off. And sometimes in knitting patterns, depending on how it's written, I can like highlight the row once I've done it in the Reader Microsoft version of PDF. But the problem is if you've got a lot of like repeat these rows a couple times, it's hard to keep track of how many times you've done the repeat. And I've gotten pretty good at reading my knitting, but I don't like to spend a lot of time when I pick up a project again figuring out how many rows, where did I come from, what did I do. So for this pattern, it actually worked out, and actually I've done this for other patterns. I started keeping notes in Excel if I don't have the pattern printed, because then it's kind of like I can reference the pattern on here and then Excel. And so, well, first of all, I had to redo my chart for Watson, but then I'm not going to zoom in, but you can kind of see it like I put the pattern down here, and then I just kind of highlight in green once I'm done with it. And then the great thing is I can reuse it again. Just get rid of the highlights and do it again. So it's not like, you know, paper upon paper upon paper, and like having to erase things or reprint it and waste paper. So that's the current way I'm obsessed with pattern. I mean, it's good if I don't need to travel with it. Like I brought this to Starbucks the other night and was knitting on it a little bit. So like it's fine for things like that, but like this was not coming with me when I went to the beach. Not that I was working on it on the beach, but you know what I mean. It's a pattern that doesn't need to travel as much with me, that I'm going to work on primarily at home. I tend to use Excel. So, plus it's really great if for like sometimes like it's hard to say like this pattern had it. Well, this pattern said repeat 6 times. So, but sometimes patterns say like repeat these rows until you have 60 stitches. I mean, how many is that? And then like every time you gotta count. Well, Excel has formulas. So if you know like on this row I'm decreasing by 2 and this row I'm decreasing by 4, you can like copy that down. I love Excel. I use it in my day job, so I'm like, let's see how I can use it at home. So yes, I use formulas to just, you know, make sure I'm on track and like keep track of all, you know, I can say like row by row. So anyway, that's my Excel-based pattern keeping, which I think is cool and highly recommend that you use. Saves the planet, and I have Excel, but like Google Docs has a formula. There's like free Office things, so spreadsheets, man, they're pretty awesome. I've got one more work in progress that I want to share in my Teeny Button Studios bag. It's really the only other project I've worked on this week, but I haven't gotten that much done. So these are my rainbow socks. You saw these last week. I'm knitting these out of Haverland's yarns in the Potomac sock base, which is 75% superwash, 25% nylon, and this is the Live and Let Love colorway, which is a beautiful rainbow self-striping yarn. Sack pattern is one that I kind of made up myself, just using a feather and fan pattern to kind of take up half the amount of stitches. Last time, you can see by my elephant stitch marker, I was about 5 repeats into it. I think I've gotten maybe 4, maybe 5 done. So I did 15 repeats on the foot and the heel, so I guess I'm a 1/6 of the way done, plus the heel and ribbing. So haven't been working on these really aggressively. I've been spending my time making little fun, cute things. So, but these are a good pattern to have. I have one acquisition. So I watch the Geeky Girls Knit podcast, which is Cece and Dammy, and I saw a while back that they were going to be doing Hamilton kits. One of Cece's patterns with some yarn. So that kit came this week. So this is actually living in a new bag that I got actually from the Yarn Box store. It's a Della Q bag. And I kind of chose this yarn because it kind of reminded me of like just a fabric you would see on like colonial housewares or dresses or something. So I thought it kind of went in well with the theme of the pattern. So I have not started this yet, but just the stuff is living in here. So it came with these, where did the stickers go? Oh, there they are. It came with these cute little stickers, adorable stickers with characters from Hamilton. If you watch Hamilton, you'll recognize these people. I won't detail out who they are. If you've never seen it, it doesn't really matter, but they're really cute. I love them. It came with this really cool button. So this says Work, which is the name of the song that the 3 Schuyler sisters sing, and it's actually got portraits of the actual Schuyler sisters on it, which I think is really funny and adorable. The yarn is by Berry Colorful Yarnings. This is the Saturated Sock Self-Striping base. which is 25% nylon, 75% merino, and it's a 100-gram skein, and the colorway is work. It's inspired by the Three Sisters, so it's a 3-stripe pattern, a blue, almost kind of tealish, like peachy almost. It's an interesting color that I can't quite describe, and then a yellow. And if you can kind of see here, the 3 characters in the show kind of wear those colors, so it matches. And the pattern is kind of this like lacy with pearl ribs on it. Let's see if I can kind of show it to you. Whoop! Dropping my tablet. It's a little bit hard to see, but it came with these pearl buttons. Well, I guess it's over there, but you can kind of see it on the picture. It came with the pearl buttons. Oh, there we go. Okay, anyway. So to sew up the back, kind of like the colonial dresses of the time would have. You might have seen it in the image that my yarn is a lot more muted than the yarn, a lot lighter than the yarn in the image, which I actually prefer it like this. I tend to prefer muted colors as opposed to like really, really bright colors. But it's really interesting that the pattern is so different than the yarn that I got. And like, it didn't look like the pictures were just like, because the rest of the ground and stuff look like a normal color, but it's interesting that it was so different in the sample versus the actual yarn. I don't know if I got like the end of a dye batch or something, but I'm not complaining because, like I said, I really like it. But I thought that was really interesting. So that's that. I probably won't cast these on right away, even though I love the idea and I really like the yarn, and I love the whole idea of a Hamilton-inspired sock. I am going to Spain in less than 3 weeks. And I don't know that this is a pattern I want to bring to Spain. I have to look at the pattern a little bit more closely, but it does look a little bit more intricate, and I'm feeling like I want to bring pretty simple stuff with me. I don't know how much time I'll have just like by myself to sit down and knit. I'll have time on the plane, I'll have time on the bus or the train as we travel around Spain, because we're actually going to like 5 different cities. But I don't know. I'm trying to only bring I am going to bring only a carry-on size bag and a backpack, and it's an 11-day trip. I should have enough space for my clothes. I know how to pack for that. I've never quite gone on a trip this length with knitting, and so I don't really know how much to bring. So I think I might just bring a pair of vanilla socks, a couple pairs of vanilla socks with me. I just think it'll be the easiest thing. Well, it's kind of like boring from a knitting perspective. It's going to be so much easier for me. I might bring my hedgehog that I showed last week, and I've got a bunch of other just random. It'll also allow me to get through my random socks skeins that have been kind of sitting up, taking up space. So I think I might just bring two pairs of vanilla socks. We'll see. This might be the last time you see me before I go to Spain. If I may podcast next week, the 10th, but it depends on how much packing and work and other things kind of pan out. So this might be it. This might be it. That's kind of the biggest thing happening in my life. Spain is really close. Tonight I'm going to see my coworker's wife in a show called A Man of No Importance. So I'm going with my boss and her boyfriend, so that should be fun. Yeah, that's really it. I feel like this was kind of short. Of course, I had to redo some of it because my camera decided it was going to cut itself off again. It keeps doing that, and I keep forgetting, so I keep checking, and so I talk for 10 minutes without it. I still have a love-hate relationship with this camera, you guys. Focusing just takes so long, but the quality is so good, and the light makes it look normal. So, we'll see. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day and you're enjoying what you're knitting. I will talk to you next time. Bye.